What is up, YouTube? We're going live right now on Instagram. Hope you guys are having a good Monday. Appreciate the three of you that already smashed the like button on YouTube. That is awesome and certainly is much appreciated. So let me find my joint, jump in the comment section if you guys got some questions. I think though today I might not spend quite as much time talking about real estate, but if you guys hit me up with questions, I'll still try and answer them. But I kind of want to talk about 2020, 2021 goal setting, all that stuff. We're halfway through the month now of November, and that often gets me thinking about, the future. Because for most people, the last 2 weeks of December essentially don't count because you're going to get distracted with family things, holiday season, all that stuff. So I think it's really important if you want to get 2021 started right, that actually needs to start in the next 30 days. So I often start experimenting with some of the new goals or habits I want to implement in the new year, actually, in these next 30 days. And I like to just kind of do like dry runs and approaches like that as well. So really want to encourage you guys to start thinking about what you want to make of your 2021, because if you're going to be setting your New Year's resolutions on New Year's Eve, you've essentially already lost before you've even started. So I'll maybe share with you some of the goals that we set out here in 2020 to accomplish, as well as I'll circle into maybe some goals for 2021 and just some of my thoughts towards the future and stuff as well. So let's do it. And tonight I'm smoking some Cali Mist. So that's that. Again, I'm not sure if these names mean anything, but that's what it says on the label. What's your prediction for next month real estate market? Well, Danny, based upon what we're currently seeing in the Ontario real estate market, pretty much every freaking part of the real estate market's up except for Toronto condos. So I suspect that we're likely going to see a very robust market until the new year. And if anything, I don't really see a catalyst on the horizon unless we have a severe second lockdown that's really going to pump the brakes on the real estate market right now. Now, does that mean it's sustainable? Who knows? Time will tell, but certainly I wouldn't want to necessarily be aggressively buying into assets that don't have strong underlying fundamentals. So what I mean by that is I see a bunch of people speculating on the condo market thinking like this is a once in a lifetime buying opportunity. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but understand the reason why that market's so much weaker right now than all the other real estate markets in Canada is because there's not as strong underlying fundamentals. All those condos in Toronto, they're not all owner occupied. A lot of them are speculative investment plays or rental plays, but the ones that are rental plays usually don't cash flow. And so what happens when you have a non-cash flowing rental property, it means that the landlord is actually subsidizing the tenant's rent. Now that's not very sustainable. And certainly the moment a market starts seeing price decreases, you're going to see a lot of the owners that have those unsustainable rentals decide, fuck it, I no longer want to deal with this bullshit. I'm just going to sell the condo. Hopefully I don't lose any money. I'll take whatever profits I can get and move on. As well, if there's any stress to the economy, those landlords that are subsidizing their tenants' rent, again, they're going to decide to tap out. They're not going to be able to afford to subsidize the rent if they lose their job or if their finances become shaky. So again, I think it's really important if you're going to be looking at investing in real estate right now, that you're focused on the fundamentals. Have an underlying business model that supports the decision to buy that specific piece of real estate. And again, understand, regardless of what's going on in the real estate market, there will always be people making money and people losing money in real estate. So people can make money in any market with any strategy, but you can't always make money with a specific strategy in a specific market. So again, it's all about really just reading your local market, understanding what you're trying to achieve as an investor, and then really focus on executing that business model, and don't get caught up with like rubber neck syndrome trying to look and see what everyone else is doing. I'll answer a couple more questions here and then I'm going to get into my New Year's talk. as a wholesaler, where do you get a soft proof of funds? So soft proof of funds, that could be like a home equity line of credit. You could simply find a money partner though, Liam. So I would really encourage you, just find someone that has a large home equity line of credit and get them to backstop you. And that can be a great source of soft funds as a wholesaler if you need that. I don't know too much about the Montreal real estate market, so I'm not going to jump in on that one. But be aware that Quebec is its own little reality, so you need to really understand the rules in Quebec if you're going to play in that league, and don't assume that the rules in Ontario just automatically apply in Quebec. That would be one of my pieces of advice there. Hey Matt, when you do sell your, where'd that go? Hey Matt, when you do sell your investment properties, are there any circumstances where you would want to sell as is? Thanks, brother. Actually, yeah, Brian, this is a great question and something that most people are going to be surprised by. One, this year I actually ended up selling most of my small portfolio of real estate. Now, I have been buying larger apartment buildings, so I've still roughly got the same unit mix or a little bit higher than what I started the year with. But I probably sold off like 50 or 60 units this year. Mind you, we bought 90 in the new business, but all those buildings I didn't sell for top dollar, and I didn't sell on the MLS. I sold privately to investors who are going to make money off of buying off of me. And one, it's not because I'm stupid, it's not because I'm an idiot, but it's because I had better things to do. I had bigger opportunities, and it made more sense for me to just get rid of the distractions of my small properties and go chase the bigger opportunities and focus on the big dominoes rather than getting caught up and trying to squeeze every drop out of the fruit I had. I was better off just go find a whole new tree, because I'd already reaped, say, 80% of the profits on those properties. I don't need to get 100% of the profits. 80% is more than enough, and then I'm going to move on and focus on other areas where I can scale my rewards better or speed up the velocity of my money, which again is essentially going to scale up my rewards. So rather than chasing my existing portfolio, I'd rather go buy other buildings. So for example, there's a couple of buildings I sold that I'm pretty sure that the investors buying it off of me got maybe a 20-25% discount. But on the flip side, if I didn't go buy a property, and we did this, we bought a apartment building at the end of last year for $95,000 a unit, and we just got it reappraised, and we did strategic renovations on it. Oh, went out on me. We did strategic renovations on it and got that apartment building, a 17-unit building, reappraised for 140 plus a unit. So again, I'd rather go chase the next opportunity. And that's actually still kind of tip of the iceberg, right? Because I've also got Cashflow Tribe, which is a very active, very fast growing business. It's my real estate education company in case somehow you've been sleeping on that. Also, I see there's literally 50 people watching this on YouTube, but only 13 have smashed the like button. It'd be really cool if more of you guys smash the like button. Just going to throw that out there. But, I've got Cashflow Tribe. I've got the wholesaling business. The wholesaling business is really starting to flourish as we continue to see the demand increase, right, for private off-market deals. Our wholesaling business has just been on a tear. So I'm much better off focusing on managing Cashflow Tribe, managing my wholesaling business, managing my apartment buying business, rather than trying to squeeze every penny out of my existing assets. So yeah, I'm actually really glad you asked that question. Now that I'm talking about it out loud, I should really shoot a video on it. Because when I first started, I actually didn't believe that. I'd hear other investors saying like, hey man, there's still some meat on the bone for you if you decide to buy this building. And I'd be like, sure there is. You're going to want to sell for top dollar because you're an investor. But it actually is true that oftentimes money's not the only motivator. So for me, it was fast, clean, easy sales. So like the guys I sold my properties to, they literally took care of everything. So like they told my lawyer, they canceled my insurance, they all that shit. I didn't do any of it. And again, that to me was important because I just needed speed because I had all these other opportunities on the go, and I'm going to be better served focusing on them rather than squeezing those pennies. So thanks again for that question. That's a great one. Why can't people stay home? It's driving me crazy. Stay home. Okay, well, I'm smoking weed in my bathroom, so I think that counts. How old were you when you got your first deal? I was 25 years old when I bought my first property. It was a shitty student rental here in London that was being undermanaged, and had a lot of fun in that house. So I I would encourage anyone that's looking to break into real estate at a young age, or even at an older age, house hack. House hacking is absolutely critical. It's absolutely key, in my opinion, because not only will it allow you to cut your teeth as an investor, but in addition to that, it's also going to allow you to get that proof of concept. And if you can document that proof of concept, you're really then going to be able to go scale your business model. But the added benefit of house hacking is it's simply going to reduce your overall lifestyle costs, right? So I've got an ebook that we're going to be releasing, a free ebook that we're going to be releasing in the near future on just the principles of FIRE, financial independence, retiring early. But understand that the average Canadian or American, for that matter, spends 30 to 40% of their income on shelter, right? According to Stats Canada or whatever it's called in the US. I'm drawing a blank right now. But yeah, 30 to 40% of their income on shelter. If you can find a way to live for free, that means you can literally save 30 to 40% of your income compared to the average individual. That's just going to put you in such a stronger position going forward. Because again, the average person only saves like 5-10% of their income. So if you can save an extra 30 or 40%, it means that you're going to be saving close to 50% of your total income. Something magical happens when you reach that 50% save ratio. So once you pass the point of that 50% save ratio, I can get into a whole spiel, but to summarize, essentially that means every year you work, you're saving more than 1 year's worth of living expense. Something powerful happens. When you're saving only 10% of your income, that means that it takes you 9 years to save up 1 year's worth of expenses. When you're saving 50%, it takes you 1 year. You're literally 9 times as fast at saving up 1 year's worth of expenses, 1 year's worth of living without having to work. That to me is just such a magical thing to understand. It's like another one of the wonders of the world. You know, Einstein said that compounding interest is like the ninth wonder of the world. Well, I'd argue understanding and comprehending how your savings rate impacts your ability to get control of your financial situation is like the 10th wonder of the world. Let's see what's going on YouTube. Appreciate the 60 of you watching. So, hey Matt, already covered that one. Do you look for a minimum amount of population in a city area before you invest, or other specific demographics? Yeah, great question, Joshua. So when I'm looking at investing in a market, the primary focus is going to be the underlying economic fundamentals. So I've got an arbitrary bias of anything less than 10,000 as a market I'm probably not that interested in getting into. Now, I will make exceptions depending upon the exact asset we're talking about. But what I'm really going to be looking at is population growth, where the vacancy rate is, what the unemployment rate is, what the average income is, what the average rent price is, what the average rent of the building I'm looking at investing is, or what I believe fair market value of those rents to be. And depending upon how all that shapes up, that's really going to dictate for me how I decide to, or whether I decide to invest in that property. Now, taking a step back, if we're looking at wholesaling, I've got a general rule of thumb, and again, there's times that I'll break this, but it's a rule of thumb that I don't want to wholesale in markets with less than 50,000 population center. Now, the reason for that is it's going to be a very small buyer's pool if I'm looking to wholesale and the population base is less than 50,000, unless that market is rapidly growing, or it's an anomaly of a market where it's drawing a lot of outside investment. But in general, I'm going to want a population base of greater than 50,000 if I'm looking at wholesaling. And if I'm looking at doing a buy and hold, for me personally, Matt McKeever, I'd really like to see a population base of 10,000 at least. But what I mean by 10,000, it's not literally just an arbitrary number of people. What I really want to see is it a regional hub? So ideally, if it's got 10,000 or more people, it's got a hospital, right? It's got like at least a high school or two. It's got a couple things that are going to draw people to that region for the long term. Presumably, it's got some sort of main industry or employer. And again, hopefully I perceive that to be a relatively stable industry or individual organization. If it's a regional center, so if it's kind of like the regional center for government offices and things of that nature, again, that's very encouraging to me. So an example I could use is if we were to look in the Chatham-Kent County, so that's where the city of Chatham is. There's also another town called Wallaceburg. Wallaceburg's around the 10,000 population center base. So in theory, it sounds good, and it sounds like it might meet my threshold. However, if we look in deeper into the actual the actual data behind Wallaceburg, you'll see that the population base in Wallaceburg essentially hasn't grown since 1990. So literally for 30 years, it's been stagnant or slightly declining. Then when we look at it, they also recently had a bunch of the municipal offices move from Wallaceburg to Chatham. Again, a bad sign. The government's moving out of that city. Now, that's just the small local regional government, but that's still a bad sign. It also isn't the regional hub for hospital or medical attention. That's in Chatham. So again, because of these factors, a city like Wallaceburg, though it looks like it meets the 10,000 population base requirement that I stated, it doesn't meet any of the other factors that I like to take in consideration when I'm thinking about buying in a market. So when I had the opportunity to buy a larger apartment building in Wallaceburg, I decided no, even though the numbers look good mathematically on the rental, I just didn't like the underlying economic condition of that market. And, when you look across most of the southwestern Ontario through 2040 and even into 2050 now, it's projected to have, minimum 20, 30% population growth increases, right? However, Wallaceburg's not going to experience that. Chatham-Kent will experience, I think it's closer to 20%, if I'm not mistaken. So still positive, but not nearly as positive as the other regions. And Wallaceburg won't experience any growth likely. So that's a really negative factor in my opinion. Do you see a scenario where GTA properties see a decline in prices and secondary markets rise in value? If that happens, I don't see that happening for an extended period of time. So I don't think any decrease where Toronto, unless we're talking about a specific niche in the Toronto market, like say condos, but freehold houses, I doubt we see a significant retraction in prices or decrease in prices without any other markets being impacted. Now, is that possible? Absolutely. Is it probable? I personally don't think so. What's up, everyone joining the live stream? Appreciate everyone jumping in the comments. How do you learn to understand your local market? Andrew, we got a course for this on Cashflow Tribe you can check out. So I've got how to analyze a real estate market on Cashflow Tribe. And I think it's actually a free course. So I don't even know if you have to be a paying member. I think if you sign up for a free account at cashflowtribe.com, you can go watch that course. I really walk you through step by step how I go about becoming a local expert on my real estate market. But high level, I'm going to look at things like Stats Canada, the CMHC data. I'm going to look at the local economic development board. I'm really going to take all those different sources and try and aggregate an understanding of what's going on in that local market. Hey Matt, do you know where I can get a purchase and sale agreement contract? Yes, you can get one on cashflowtribe.com. So we've actually got a Ontario-based purchase and sale agreement that you can go check out. If you've got a premium membership on Cashflow Tribe, you can actually go through our offer wizard and it'll kind of walk you through step by step all the different fields you need to fill out. And if you've never filled out a purchase and sale agreement before, we actually just released a new feature where you can pre-populate it with dummy data, so you can just see what a purchase and sale agreement looks like when it is filled out with data. And I just need to blow my nose, so let me grab some TP here. Man, the bonuses of shooting this in your bathroom. Tissues easily at hand. All right. Let's see what else is going on here. Fiveplex in Windsor, what do you think? Chris, I feel like if the only thing that you're using to make a decision on buying a fiveplex in Windsor is the fact that it's a fiveplex in Windsor, you probably need to do more due diligence. Do you suggest in buying in overpriced cities? No, I would never suggest in buying in a market that I thought was overpriced. Now, how you determine overpriced is a very difficult measure, and I don't think that, for me, when I think of overpriced, a big part of it is looking at the affordability metrics. So things that concern me about major metropolitan areas is how sustainable those prices are for the average, the average person. And understand that, like in a province like Ontario, we're going to be looking at a minimum wage that's province-wide. So immediately, that means someone could be living in a city like Chatham and making $15 an hour, or they could be living in Toronto making $15 an hour. Well, I can tell you, in case you don't know, the cost of living in in Chatham is significantly lower than the cost of living you're going to have in Toronto, regardless of which suburb or whether you're downtown in Toronto. So when I think about affordability, I definitely like markets like southwestern Ontario or parts of eastern Ontario. Now, again, that doesn't mean I'm just going to blindly go invest there. I'm still going to want to see that the underlying economics of the city, is the population growing, what's the immigration look like, where's the average rents at, what are the vacancy rates, what's the employment rate, all that good stuff definitely still comes into play for me as an investor. All right, let's see what else is going on YouTube. Yo, Matt, to qualify for the 5% down mortgage duplex, how long does the investor have to live in that house for it to be qualified as a primary residence? So I don't think I've ever seen anything that explicitly states that there's an exact timeline. I think if you read it, the thing is your intentions have to be to use it as a primary residence. So, technically if your goal is to just use it the bare minimum as a primary residence and then move on, I think technically you're on the wrong side of CMHC. Now, do a lot of first-time investors do that? Yep. Should you do it? I think it's a very personal choice. Again, I would first read the rules and get familiar with them personally, and then make a decision based upon what your exact plan or intentions are. Opportunity cost. Absolutely, Rick. That's the real thing with me these days is there's opportunities everywhere, but I can't take on every opportunity because my time and resources are just too scarce to deploy. So I need to focus on what's the most valuable thing for me to invest my time in. You understand, the most valuable thing to invest your time in isn't necessarily going to be the thing that makes you the most money today. In fact, there's lots of times that we get opportunities on my YouTube channel to just sell out and shill some assholes course or, push some Bitcoin or Forex shit or something like that. And they offer you really enticing rips. Like, it's shocking, but like some of these like gurus or fake gurus out there, they'll literally give as much as like 75% of the gross course sales to someone like me if I'll push it on my channel. Now, never done it. But like there's lots of people that will offer even a 50% rip. And to me, it's just like that to me may make money in the short term, but in the long term, burning my audience, burning the attention, burning the following I have, it's just moronic. So for me, what I'm really focused on, what's going to get me the highest total lifetime value of Matt. And so oftentimes it looks like saying no to opportunities that might make a bit of money today. Saying no, like, why do you wholesale deals that you could flip and make money on? Because I know it would take more of my time. And I'd rather spend that time like focusing on making Matt better so that he can then go get into bigger businesses and shit. Like, I want to stop looking at duplexes and look at like, what does a bank charter cost? Oh, it costs like maybe $5-10 million to grab a dormant bank charter. Now that's cool. That's interesting to me. That's something I'd like to learn a little bit more about. Be kind of cool to own your own bank. Am I right? Or starting a MIC, which is kind of maybe your first step towards having a bank, right? Things like that. I'd rather spend time learning, making connections there. I'm spending a lot of time now trying to make friends in the fintech space. So if any of you currently are in fintech or prop tech, or you've got a buddy or someone that that's a co-founder or a C level, or I'll even settle for a VP level individual at an organization that's a Canadian fintech or prop tech, slide into one of my DMs. I would love to get a soft introduction to those individuals because I want to start surrounding myself with tech entrepreneurs. One, I've got a little bit of capital. I could maybe do a little bit of seed or angel investing. But two, I think there's maybe some interesting opportunities for the right proper fintech company for, if they're Canadian oriented, for us to collab, maybe find some win-wins together. Or again, alternatively, maybe there's win-wins with some of my other companies, like either the wholesaling business or more likely Cashflow Tribe. So those are areas that I'd rather invest my time and my money if necessary into, rather than like go do another duplex, go flip another property. And even understand like with my apartment buying business, while it is important to me that that business continues to grow, it's actually one of the least important businesses right now. One of the ones I spend the least amount of time in. But what I've really started trying to do now is position myself well to have great active partners in the different businesses so that those active partners can just really go run and crush it and go all out, while I kind of focus on being the attention guy, being kind of the hub, the networker, and hopefully find more complementary partnerships, win-wins, and plug those into my existing businesses and future businesses and all that stuff. So yeah, that's kind of like where I try and spend or invest a lot of my time now. So things like opportunity cost are always at the top of my mind, and I'm always trying to be cognizant, to not take on busy work, but try and truly be productive, and not only focus on being efficient, but also effective. Ooh, I see a multi-part question. Should I dive into it? Hey Matt, I'm a senior in college and I've been watching you dreaming about real estate investing for a while. I've read multiple real estate books, but struggled to keep the dream alive. I obviously don't have the money to start, but I'm struggling to want to keep learning. But I learn by doing. What else should I be doing to be getting prepared to invest in 3 to 4 years? Yeah, Noah, definitely know those struggles. I discovered real estate investing in my last year of university, when a friend's dad introduced us to Rich Dad Poor Dad. And since then, like, I had the real estate bug. It actually, I probably spent 3 or 4 years before I bought my first property. With hindsight, I could have done it faster, but I just didn't know what I didn't know back then. I would really encourage you, Noah, start going to local networking events. Start attending online local networking events by your local REI, that's Real Estate Investment Group. These days, a lot of them are doing online events, and that's great because it either makes them free or extremely cheap. So I would just go attend as many live events as I could. Don't necessarily go to the paid ones right away. Just like go to a couple free ones, get your sea legs, and be careful. Some of the free ones are just like a giant upsell with high pressure sales and stuff like that. Some of them are low pressure sales, some of them are no pressure sales, some have no sales. But just start meeting other investors and just listening to their stories, get exposed to them, start surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals. That's the biggest struggle, I think, for a lot of people, is that they never find their tribe and they never find a group of like-minded individuals. And if you try and go this alone as a real estate investor, you can succeed, but you're going to have to be an exceptional individual. But if you decide to find a group, a community, a tribe with you, it becomes so much easier to move forward with real estate investing, just because we all need that proof of concept. We all need that Roger Bannister to really just give us the confidence to move forward and to really believe in that this is possible. Understand, right before I bought my first student rental, I was like on the cusp, about to buy it, and I was kind of getting cold feet. I was starting to panic. I was like, holy shit, what if I just made the biggest mistake of my life? And I knew no one that was a real estate investor, and so this made it so scary. And then one day I saw a coworker come to work, and I'm an accountant, so he was an accountant as well. And he always drove this big pickup truck, which just didn't make sense for an accountant because he also lived in the city. So like, why do you drive a big pickup truck and you're an accountant, you live in the city? And then one day he came into work, and in the back of his bed of his pickup truck, he had a for rent sign. I was like, that motherfucker's a landlord. And so I went into his office and I was like, hey man, are you a landlord? And he was like, shut the door. And so I shut the door behind me, and he went on to explain to me how he built up a real estate portfolio. And I was really lucky and grateful to just accidentally bump into Ryan essentially through work. But he was about, 5, 7 years older than me. But at that point in time, he had like 20 rentals. I was just like, 20 rentals? Is that even possible? Like, oh my God, And essentially, having that Roger Bannister, right? Roger Bannister is the first guy to run a 4-minute mile. Before that, it was thought physically impossible to run a 4-minute mile. After that, a bunch of people went on to break the 4-minute mile, and now, some of the most exceptional high school athletes can actually break a 4-minute mile as well. So it's important for us to have those examples. Accomplishing something becomes so much easier when someone else has already blazed the trail before you. So I really encourage you, just get out there networking, start meeting like-minded individuals, find a couple mentors, and understand not every mentorship relationship's like formal. I think that that's a big misnomer that a lot of individuals have, that, this older person's going to recognize something special in you and be like, hey, I'll mentor you and show you all the secrets and the path to enlightenment. I mean, it'd be cool if it plays out that way for you, but normally what happens is you just stumble into some interesting opportunities, and then you're faced with a choice. Am I going to step outside my comfort zone and try and make the most of it, or am I going to play it safe? I could have easily never went and asked Ryan if he was a landlord. I would have never found out. And I can guarantee you I wouldn't be as successful today. Not because Ryan gave me some silver bullet to success, but because he was an example, and that gave me the confidence to go forward and actually do what I needed to do to become successful. At the end of the day, we all need to take action in order to become successful. So it's really important that you understand that information or knowledge without action is just entertainment. Information with action results in experience, which calcifies in wisdom. So this is really important. It's something that I don't think enough people talk about. Information without action, just the same thing as Netflix binging. If you're like, I love it when you guys binge my content, and I really love it when you like take a photo and tag me on Instagram when you binge my content. Hint, hint, everyone on Instagram. But if you're literally never going to make an offer, if you're never going to buy a piece of real estate, I really haven't done that well by you, because all I did was provide some entertainment. And I mean, I probably could be more entertaining than I am on my real estate channel. So it's really important that you take that information, that knowledge, and you choose to act upon it. And something magical happens when we act. We get experience. And as we gain experience, you're going to build wisdom. And that's really going to create confidence for you and allow you to move forward with speed, take on bigger challenges. And a recurring theme I've been sharing with Cashflow Tribe recently is this concept of the hero's journey. And so if you guys haven't checked out Joseph Campbell's, Hero of 1,000 Faces, really encourage you guys to go check out that book, or at least that concept. Dan Harmon talks about it with his story circles, right? And there's another author that has his own version of the hero's journey as well. But think about any story that you love, especially any fictional story you love, whether that's Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, whether that's Neo in The Matrix, whether that's Frodo or Bilbo Baggins, whether that's Harry Potter, doesn't matter. All these heroes follow a very similar journey and pattern. And in fact, pretty much any of us in life that want to go on to do exceptional things, we're going to follow a similar journey. So the first thing is understanding that you currently exist in your known reality, in your comfort zone. But at some point in time, there will be a call to action, a call to adventure. That call to adventure may be you stumbling into meeting a coworker that's a real estate investor. It could be you listening to some random dude smoke weed in his bathroom and talk about how real estate investing actually does work in real life. It could be you stumbling across a for sale by owner sign and deciding to call it. But there's that initial call to adventure or call to action. Then you're going to be on the precipice, on the threshold of making a decision and going into the unknown, into the wilderness, into the wild, taking that leap of faith, taking the red pill if you're Neo. And most of the time, we're going to first hesitate or we're going to refuse the call to adventure. But then at some point in time, usually a mentor or a Roger Bannister or a Morpheus or a Obi-Wan Kenobi or, a Gandalf the Grey comes along to really show us that this can be done and to give us that nudge forward. But then in addition to having a mentor, you're also likely going to need helpers. And so again, whether it's that, ragtag band that's going to help you take down the Empire, or it's the crew on Morpheus's ship, or if it's, the Fellowship of the Ring, regardless, you're going to need helpers. And so what I view as the real estate investor's hero's journey is first just becoming aware that real estate investing actually exists. Becoming aware that real estate investing can actually be done by normal people. Becoming aware that real estate investing actually works for at least some normal people. And then understanding that you're going to need a mentor, you're going to need someone to guide you. Now that mentor can be an informal mentor and a series of informal mentors. It can be a paid mentorship. It can be a combination of both. But either way, you're probably going to need someone that's your guiding North Star. Someone that's just that shining beacon of an example for you. It can literally just be some dude on the internet. But either way, you'll need that mentor. But you'll also need helpers. And as a real estate investor, think of helpers as the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Your helpers are also going to be your power team. They're going to be your realtor. They're going to be your wholesalers. They're going to be your mortgage agent. They're going to be your insurance agent. They're going to be your contractor, your leasing agent, your property manager, all those different team members. They're going to be the helpers that help you along the journey. And understand that that journey is usually filled with perils, and you're going to be scared, and there's going to be some false starts, but it also is all part of the hero's journey. But at some point in time, you're going to overcome that challenge, and you're going to get the elixir, or you're going to defeat the matrix, or you're going to destroy the ring, or destroy the empire. And from that, you'll then be able to return to your old reality, a changed man, a changed person, the one. And from that, then you can choose to then find the next call to adventure or become a mentor for someone else. Or normally, understand that most of us, we're everything at once. We're both on our own hero's journey. Matt McKeever, he's on his own hero's journey. I'm also a mentor to some people, and I'm also a helper to some people on their journey as well. Hey Matt, how big of an importance is location in a seller's market like Windsor? Would you recommend just trying to get your foot in the door for a first investment? Carmen, if you're looking to invest in Windsor, I would really focus on fundamentals. So, does the area matter? Well, the old adage of real estate, location, location, location always holds true. But that doesn't mean that you need a AAA location to be a successful investor. In fact, a lot of successful investors never go into AAA locations. But what you do need to do is have a clear business model that will work in that specific location. And never try and shoehorn a business model onto a location. It's just a recipe for disaster. You need to make sure that the business model works in that location. You can't try and force it. And you can't try and force a location into a business model either. We need to be really making intelligent decisions as an investor. All right. Sorry about that, guys. What does 40-year-old Matt McKeever look like to you in regards of Cashflow Tribe, real estate portfolio, etc.? Yeah, appreciate that question. So I am 35 right now. I'll turn 36 next year. And so 5 years from now, I'll be 40. And what does that Matt McKeever look like? Well, I really subscribe to Bill Gates' philosophy that people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. So I really do take 5, 10, and 15-year goals very seriously. I've chatted about it a couple times on some of these lives in the past, but for my 5-year goal, I like to big goals on the horizon. If I'm going to share them with the universe, I kind of need to protect them. And so the way I love to protect my goals is kind of by making a joke out of it, right? It's kind of that Eminem and 8 Mile approach of I'm going to make fun of myself before anyone else can make fun of me. So my goal at age 40 is what I call private jet wealth. Now you may think to yourself, well, that doesn't sound like that much of a joke, Matt. But understand when you say something like, I want to have private jet wealth, most people aren't going to think about the underlying, fundamentals or principles or can this be achieved. Instead, most people are going to make a joke and be like, all right, well, dibs shotgun, right? Or something like that. Whereas if I was to say an exact dollar amount or exact cash flow amount, I think most people then start getting caught up in the reality of it and the intricate details. And understand 5 years is a long time. Things are going to ebb and flow. 5 years ago, I could have never predicted. 5 years ago, I still work my day job, right? Like, it's fucking crazy. I didn't have a YouTube channel. I was a ghost on social media 5 years ago. So what 5 years from now looks like, obviously at best I can only guess, but I do think that I've got multiple 8-figure businesses. I've hopefully exited 1 or 2 of those by then. I'm hoping that Canadian real estate or the Canadian real estate guy and Matt McKeever are synonymous, as in people just assume like I am Canadian real estate and Canadian real estate's me. I suspect that I'll dabbled into some other content niches. So spoiler alert, I think in 2020, I'm going to start a Canadian politics YouTube channel. So I guess you guys let me know. Would that be something of interest to you? I would really like to start sharing, like, one, I'd like a reason to learn more about Canadian politics. 2, I'd like a reason to get more connected in Canadian politics. And 3, I'd like to kind of share my opinions on Canadian politics as well. Because I think our university system is doing a terrible job of indoctrinating the future generations with some terrible fucking ideas, and I would like to be the counterpoint to that. But at the same time, I'm by no means a debater, so I need to like beef up my skill set. So my assumption is I'll start a YouTube channel. I'll spend the first year just literally teaching people the basics of Canadian politics while I learn the basics of Canadian politics and really learn the landscape. Because right now I'm actually guilty of knowing more about American politics and the American system. In part because, I'm like a hardcore libertarian at heart, certainly freedom oriented, give me liberty, give me death, all that sort of concept. But I would love to really dabble in that realm. So I think, 5 years from now, Matt definitely has a Canadian politics YouTube channel. I hope it's one of the largest. In fact, if you guys currently follow any Canadian politics YouTube channels or content creators, please let me know in the comment sections. Because I would love to get some references and start studying up, see what the competition's like. This has been something I've just been slowly kind of mapping out. I hope 5 years from now I've written a couple of books. I hope one of them was really good. Fingers crossed. I know which one it is. And then otherwise, I really hope all my team members have really flourished. So not only do I hope that I've built a couple 8-figure businesses, but I really hope that Adam Martin and Peter, the Hungarian Experiment, have both succeeded in following in my footsteps and have accomplished similar, if not greater, feats than myself. And then I really hope the next generation, so all the young wholesalers you currently see on my team, I hope they've all matured into business owners. I hope that they're just killers with business. So I hope that they're, what would be a good phrase? Yeah, I don't know a good phrase, but that I'm building my Spartan 300 army of capitalists. So that would be super cool if we're a lot closer to that 5 years from now. Have you ever thought of buying in the US, say Detroit or other gentrifying cities? I've certainly considered those opportunities, but honestly, no. I can still make money in the Canadian real estate market, so I don't see a reason to go switch markets. So straight up, just not that enticed to do it. Secondly, I don't perceive myself having a competitive advantage in any new market, so I'm going to have to spend time learning it and getting up to speed and things like that. And again, that's just not particularly desirable for me. Now, if all of a sudden, let's say the Canadian real estate market stays on fire and a year from now properties are worth double or triple what they are today in my markets, yep, probably going to be switching provinces, or if I'm forced to, switching countries if I'm going to continue to be a real estate investor at that point. But I think right now, prices in my market and the asset classes I'm investing in, even if we are in a bubble, I think that they're relatively safe compared to other real estate assets in the Canadian market. So that's kind of how I think about it. Thank you to the 50 people that have smashed the like button on YouTube. I really do appreciate that. I have no idea if it actually matters to the algorithm, but I promise it matters to Matt. I have an opportunity to use a HELOC, houses paid off, to finance my real estate investing while still being eligible for first-time home buyer perks. In general, how would you recommend I go about starting? Alfred, the first thing I would do is really focus on what your long-term goals are as an investor, and don't necessarily just let the resources you have today dictate the real estate business you choose to build. So this is something a lot of people consistently do, but I would really encourage you to first try and map out your why behind real estate investing, try and figure out your SMART goals, then pick a strategy and then a market based upon those SMART goals and based upon your existing resources and experiences and competitive advantages. If you're interested in how to do that whole process, I've released a couple videos on my YouTube channel touching upon it, and then I've got an in-depth course on cashflowtribe.com. You can jump over there, sign up, check it out. We've got hundreds of course hour content now on Cashflow Tribe. There's over 31 individual courses on there that you can learn a lot from. As well, it'll walk you through a lot of paperwork and things like that if you're based in Ontario. And then finally, we actually have Canada's most active and largest community of real estate investors. So we've got over 1,400 Canadian real estate investors on the Cashflow Tribe website right now. And we've got over 200 forum posts. I haven't counted, but I assume there's over 1,000 or like 200. Yeah, 200 forum threads, over like 1,000 forum posts. Lots of comments, lots of activities, and just lots of great discussions and resources being shared. So really encourage everyone to take part in that and make the most of it. How can I find wholesale and off-market deals in cities such as Windsor and Chatham, especially ones to meet the 1% rule? Well, you can go to mattmckeever.com/private deals. Deals is plural. And you can sign up for our email list for my wholesale team. We're always wholesaling deals in Windsor, Chatham, London, St. Thomas, Sarnia, Woodstock, Brantford, Mississauga, Barrie, and we're going to be moving into cottage country. So if you guys haven't been paying attention, I'm currently looking to buy a cottage, and I figured why not start up a whole cottage buying division of my wholesale team. So we're going to be doing some big things in the near future. So if you're looking to buy a cottage in the tiny Midland, Honey Harbor, Muskoka region, or Georgian Bay, hit up your boy in the near future, because we're going to be blitzkrieging that market, and I hope we get all kinds of cool cottage deals. But otherwise, if you're looking to join other wholesale email lists, just connect with online communities, right? There's lots of wholesalers in cashflowtribe.com. Pretty much any Facebook group that's focused on real estate investing these days will have multiple wholesalers in there trying to get you to join their buyers list. So it's really not hard to find a wholesaler's buyers list. You can always Google it as well, or ask for referrals from existing real estate investors you know. All right, let's get this going again. All right. Buying property with long-term tenants on ODSP. Yeah, like that can work. Again, you just need to really know what your business model is. If there's long-term tenants where maybe the units are dated and old, under rented, consider like a cash for key strategy, right? And offer to buy them out. Pay them a bunch of money to move it into a new apartment building, and now you can go do the renovations that are necessary, get the property up to its highest, best, most efficient use, and then rent it out for fair market value. Hey, what's up, Jordan? Hey, Matt, how would you estimate the value of land which sits below a tear-down property? Jordan, first thing I'm going to tell you is that is almost always a red herring. So for any new investor, don't get caught up in raw land deals or development opportunities. They all take way longer than you've got the patience for, and there's so few buyers that you're not going to be able to wholesale those deals 99% of the time. But Jordan, I will answer your question. And if you guys didn't know Jordan, pretty sure this is the right Jordan. Jordan's the newest wholesale team member to join my team. So the way I go about estimating the value of a lot or a property that's really only worth the underlying lot is I would look at what other lots have sold for in the neighborhood of similar size. Then if there's a property that has to be torn down, I would then subtract the cost of that tear down, right? So get a quote. I actually have no idea, and it's probably going to depend upon the property. Hopefully it doesn't have anything stupid like asbestos, and in which case it shouldn't be that expensive to tear down the property. And yeah, that's kind of roughly how I'd estimate it, but understand, unless it's a really desirable lot, a very desirable neighborhood, unless the city's got a lot of infill project demand, it's, those lot deals, they take so long to sell. Again, not to say that you can't, I'm having such strong deja vu. We haven't done this before, have we? Is the Matrix just repeating on me? I feel like I've answered this question before, Jordan, now that I'm talking out loud, but yeah, I just don't spend too much time on raw land deals, guys. I hate to see you throw all your time after a red herring or a distraction. Awesome, what's up? We got Peter in the comments. I've saved up $14,000. My next challenge is finding a deal and financing. Any hard money lender recommendations? Mojo, you just need to get out there and network like crazy. Way too many people are like, I don't have enough money or experience, so I don't want to network. Understand that's the time you need to network the most. That's the time that every single person you meet will add value to you. Once you start get a little bit more experience, get a little bit more resources, that's when you actually need to be a bit more selective about when and how you go about networking. So we touched upon it there for a second, and I said I was going to do it at the start, and Peter reminded me in the comments. So let's talk about some of my 2020 goals, my 2021 goals. So one of the big goals that I took on, and Peter was obviously a huge part of that goal this year, was releasing a video a day on YouTube for a whole year. Well, I have no idea how many days we're in, but we're over 300 days now. Probably like, I don't know, 310, 320, maybe 330. Crazy. We're a lot of days in. And, it's been very rewarding. Didn't go viral on any of the videos like I hoped, but, that's just the way it goes, I guess. And we're getting 4,000 or 5,000 views pretty consistently every day on the YouTube channel. So that really was a big goal, was just trying to make more impressions, get more attention, because I think attention is so undervalued right now. One, I really appreciate the 27 of you and 78 of you currently watching this on Instagram and YouTube. Your attention is extremely valuable. I think far too often we all treat it like it's a abundant resource, but it's actually the most finite and most scarce resource you have. So the fact that you will invest and spend it with me is much appreciated. So really happy that we stuck to that goal. I believe now my YouTube channel has over 800 videos that we've done over the course of the last 4 years. So again, that fills me with a huge satisfaction. Hit 67,000 subscribers. I did really want to hit 100,000. Unless I beg my buddy Graham Stephan for a shout out this year, probably 100,000 is not going to happen. But I do see it on the horizon next year. So I'm going to work very hard to try and get there for next year and hit 100,000 in 2021. And want to launch the second YouTube channel as well next year. So the one thing I'm unsure about is whether I just want to launch another Matt McKeever YouTube channel or whether I want to launch like the Canadian politics YouTube channel. Because I'd also like to document, my dabbling with angel investing and VC investing, and also just playing around in the fintech and prop tech space. And I don't know though if I want to like immediately try and go start a bunch of YouTube channels, because man, starting a YouTube channel when you've got no fans and no audience, like I remember 2016, it can be a lot of fun, but it can also be very discouraging. And trying to break into multiple niches is a little bit intimidating, even for me at this stage. So we'll see how that all goes, but definitely starting at least one new YouTube channel next year. Otherwise, big goals around the growth of Cashflow Tribe, and exceeded some of those goals in some ways, missed the mark on some of those goals as well. So, but overall, very happy and satisfied with what myself and Ben have created with Cashflow Tribe. It's been an amazing partnership and great to see that business grow and flourish. The wholesaling business, the goal was to turn that into a 7-figure business. We've, Adam Martin did an amazing job this year of stepping up and really taking over the management of it, and he's grown it into a 7-figure business. So very proud of him, very happy with that. Right now, we're transitioning the media team. So the media team, essentially like Peter, who runs my social media, we're trying to build that into a separate independent business that can stand on its own 2 legs. Because one of the things I don't like is any business that has to have Matt McKeever. It doesn't feel fair to me or the business or the employees if the business has to depend upon me, because honestly, I want to continue growing and evolving as an individual. And so I don't want to become shoehorned in or a prisoner of any of my businesses. Now, that doesn't mean I'm about to go abandon any of my businesses, but I really want them to be self-sustaining and be able to exist without me. Again, maybe they won't grow as fast without me, but I want them to be stable enough to exist without me if, for whatever reason, I decide to go off-grid for 3 months or a year. Who knows? But really excited to be kind of handing the reins off to Lara and Peter, who are stepping in and stepping up to take over the media department. And we're really going to be growing that. And, the name of that business right now is Social Mediation, growing social mediation into its own business. I think there's real opportunity to build that into, a powerhouse in the Canadian social media agency world. I think there's a lot of opportunities in that space. So really excited to see how we play and dabble with that in 2021. And if you guys are interested in having, the team that manages all my social media content, manage yours, feel free to send me a DM or hit up Peter the Hungarian Experiment on Instagram. And definitely happy to chat about any opportunities there. Beyond that, I just want to keep growing, my little realm of attention. I think next year I'll probably buy some sort of house, some sort of mansion, some sort of compound. It'll be a waterfront property. It'll be at least 5 acres, and it'll be able to easily accommodate like upwards of 20 people. Where it is, probably somewhere in Ontario, but I don't know beyond that. I'm right now keeping all options open, even out of province, but most likely it's going to be, in the Muskoka, Georgian Bay region, or maybe even a little bit further north, maybe even north of Sudbury is not impossible, or alternatively along, the water by Prince Edward County and Kingston and kind of that area, anything leading up to the Quebec border. All that is in theory in play as well. So I think I assume that's going to be a big milestone in 2021. Again, kind of thought I was going to do it this year, and then COVID happened and all that craziness. So who knows? I could definitely be throwing a curveball again next year, but those are definitely some of my intentions for 2021, and those were a couple of the goals. One big goal I'm trying to decide whether I want to bite off this task for myself or not is whether I should really try and amp up my written word game. So I think right now in the content world, that's the weakest area. I've never written a book, and I haven't even really written any ebooks. I've committed for a year. I'm going to produce at least one little ebook or e-guide, but those are only going to be like 2,000 to 5,000 words each. But I'll produce one of those a month on a variety of topics. But I'm also wondering whether I should just commit and just go crazy on the writing front next year, and whether I should just commit to writing 1,000 words a day. So let me know in the comment section down below. If I was to write a book, and I don't even care, it could be a free book, but if I was to write a book, would you actually read it cover to cover? And secondly, do you think can I pull it off? Could I write 1,000 words a day? Could I write 365,000 words next year? At least it's not a leap year. That would help. But yeah, I don't know about it. I'm trying to figure out if I want to make that commitment. I'm a little bit scared. I did a practice round last week and had a few days where I wrote 1,000 words and 1,500 words. It was fun and it was enjoyable, but it's definitely daunting to think about it in the aggregate. But I mean, if I was to write 365,000 plus words in 1 year, it would mean that I probably would have written the equivalent of 3 to 4 books. And that could almost mean I could just be done writing books for a while. Something about that feels pretty cool. Just crank it all out in 1 year, just fucking blitzkrieg the book scene. I don't know. We'll see. All right. What else is going on here? Hey Nicole, yeah, we hire anyone that's ambitious. So if you haven't seen it, Rebecca's been absolutely crushing it on our wholesale team. And we've had female wholesalers in the past as well. So yeah, absolutely. We don't care what sex, what race, what religion, whatever you are. If you're extremely hungry, if you're extremely ambitious, if you're willing to work more than 99% of other people, then you might be the right type of crazy to join our wholesale team. But it does take a certain kind of crazy. All right, see what else is going on here on YouTube. I'm guessing you don't have W-2 income at this point, but at what point were banks on board with financing without that permanent job type income? Hey, Agent Abe, first things first, yeah, it can be difficult with W-2 or what we call T4 income here in Canada in order to be able to qualify through a traditional lender for mortgages. But there's actually all kinds of private lenders out there as well. So it's really going to depend upon the individual lender and what their criteria are. But I know lots of investors that are able to get mortgages at decent rates, maybe not as low as what the A lender banks would lend to you, but certainly at very solid rates where you can still make good money. And they don't have a job, right? And their only income is their rental properties. And for tax purposes, they don't try and make a lot of taxable income on their rental properties. So they're often using things like depreciation and amortization, right, to write down the value of the properties. And yet there's still, man, I gotta pay attention to this or we're never going to get this smoked. But they'll still work with you, right? So you just need to find the right sort of lenders for your situation and your business model. And the key is just like, everyone's trying to find a silver bullet. Just go talk to 100 fucking lenders. Literally, guys, just go talk to 100 lenders. And I guarantee if you talk to 100 lenders, you will find the answer to all the problems you have. Like there's definitely, if you go talk to 100 lenders, 100 mortgage agents, and you explain your situation and you really try and get the answer you want, you will find the answer you want. It's just really important that everyone understand that you just lean into it, right? Like everyone's like, well, I don't want a lender to say no to me. Man, if we approach that sort of attitude with anything else in life, you would quickly realize you'd never win. However, it's really unfortunate that we set these limiting beliefs around real estate investing. So just go network with as many people as possible. That's really what's key there. Trace, yes, I'm smoking a joint. The whole point of this show is that I smoke a joint. I literally have no idea how you could join this live stream and not understand that it's me smoking a joint. It actually shocks me. That's silly. It's silly that you think it's a big deal or unprofessional to smoke a joint. This is legal. You know, if you'd be upset about alcohol, I could give it to you because alcohol actually causes a lot of issues in society, right? And if you look at any actual studies, you'll see that, 90% plus of violent incidences occur under the influence of alcohol. Not weed, alcohol, drug driving. Yeah, like the list just goes on and on for how bad alcohol is to our society. And yet at the same time, I do believe that individuals should have the freedom to partake and imbibe upon whatever substances they wish to do so. But certainly to blame weed, one of the most harmless drugs there is, like probably, I don't know, it goes caffeine and then weed, like silly. What's your current vacancy and current monthly cash flow? Our vacancy, unless we're renovating a unit, is usually at zero, right? So it doesn't take us long to rent out our units. We've got an amazing leasing agent right now. So Justin Cutler does all of our leasing for my apartment buildings, and he's top notch. Really encourage him to any of you guys that are looking for a leasing agent in London. Just don't get him too busy where he stops working with us, because that would really piss me off. But outside of that, go use them as much as you want. Do the book. Appreciate the support there, guys. Any advice on how to connect with wholesalers in the GTA? Oh, we kind of covered that earlier in the video, so I'd recommend go watch that again. But what I would tell you is just, connect in those Facebook communities. There's so many individuals trying to find you to get you on their email list. It's not that hard. And you can always go to mattmckeever.com/private deals to sign up for our private email list as well. So we mainly are only doing the west side of the GTA right now, but we'll eventually make our way over there as well. Do I do super chats? Do I respond if there's a super chat? I try to. If I missed one, I apologize. Yes, Graham Stefan is cool. I'm not sure, though, if you mean you'd like to hear Graham's perspective on Canadian politics. I can't imagine he'd have many, but if he did, sure, it'd be cool to hear that. When he says certain type of crazy, what that means? Okay, that was probably an unnecessary comment, but hey Matt, is there a market for a house that has a legal grow op in the converted garage? Is there a market for a house with a legal grow up in the converted garage? I've got no idea. That's a unicorn situation that I've definitely never came across. The biggest factor is going to be, can you get insurance on the property? If you can get insurance, you can probably find someone to finance it, but I can't imagine a Canadian A lender would be comfortable with it yet. They don't want to lend on Airbnbs, so even if it's a legal grow up in your garage, I can't imagine they're going to be kosher with it. I'm going to assume, though, there's some pretty strict code rules around that, right? Like once you get over a couple plants. So, yeah. If you're looking at buying a house and the person's telling you it's illegal grow up in the garage, I would just really make sure you confirm with the city, the province, and the federal government on that before jumping to any conclusions. But essentially building upon that overall, though, in any niche where it's, difficult or hard, it's difficult or hard, but that also means it's difficult or hard for our competition. And that usually means you have less competition. And so if you decide to carve out a really small niche, there sometimes can be great opportunities, right? The concept go a mile deep and an inch wide in your niche is very powerful. Way to maximize the profits, often without necessarily taking on the greatest amount of work on a property or a business model. So there can be potential there. I'm not familiar, though, with the exact situation that you're bringing up. All right. Been over an hour. Appreciate everyone watching on YouTube and Instagram. If you haven't smashed the like button on YouTube, please do so. That'd be greatly appreciated. We do go live every Monday at 9:20 Eastern Standard Time, where I do smoke weed. That's the whole point of the Matt McKeever Marijuana Madness video, or the McKeever Reefer video. I mean, all our titles kind of give away the fact that weed's involved in it. So, not sorry. That's rare for a Canadian to say not sorry. I'm not sorry. But appreciate those of you that did enjoy the live stream. I'm thinking next week I might mix it up a little bit, and I might live stream while playing a computer video game, still answering your questions, and I'll still smoke weed. Not sure yet, so might mix it up a little bit, which may or may not mean we're on Instagram, but we will definitely be on YouTube next Monday. Thanks, guys. And as always, as we go off here on Instagram, I'll answer one or two last minute YouTube questions. Because you guys know that YouTube's my first love on the social media platforms. First, let's get this title out of the way. Ooh. All right, question. Thoughts on new construction multifamily on long-term hold? Yeah. So I think there's opportunities. I was talking to a good friend of mine, and he's actually pivoting away from doing buy and holds, and he's only doing build and holds now. And I think we're getting to the point where prices can start to make sense. If you can find a way to build for 200 a square foot, in a lot of markets here in Ontario, it's going to be very comparable, your cost to buy or build. And so at that point in time, I can certainly understand the incentive to want to try and build and hold versus buy and hold. Not an area I've got a lot of specialty or experience in, though. How many rental properties do you currently own? Amir, I don't really count by properties, but we've got about 120 units in my portfolio right now, so hopefully that helps. Matt, how much money you got? I've got more cash than I've ever had before because I liquidated a big part of my portfolio because I needed to kind of refocus my energies, but not enough to make it worth hacking me. So don't hack me, bro. Also, it's harder to hack us Canadians. So go after the low-hanging fish in the US if you're a hacker. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the love. Hey, Matt, what are your thoughts on the commercial residential mixed properties and thoughts on commercial space conditions in downtown London? I personally wouldn't want to touch commercial only. Just me, just my personal bias. Not saying you can't make money in that niche, but it's just not for this kid. Mixed use, we'll get into. I've got a couple mixed use buildings, but in general, I'd like the mixed use buildings to be such where the commercial rent is just the gravy, the profit on the cash flow, rather than part of the the necessity to break even. If the majority of the gross rent is coming from the commercial units, I'm probably not going to have the confidence to move into that property or that project unless something weird like I'm going to be my own tenant. So there's a good chance in the future I might start buying commercial only buildings or mixed use where I know I'm going to be my own tenant, but that's kind of like cheating. So in general, though, right now I'm not interested in going into commercial only, but mixed use definitely will consider. All right, I'll scroll up, answer one or two more up here. Poor Matt doesn't have time to relight the J because he cares so much about helping us all. Thank you. I really appreciate that. All right, well, that feels like a perfect way to end the video. Really appreciate you guys. Completely agree. Okay, cool. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me on this live stream, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.